There's a lesson that can be learned here, not only for this producer, but just for Marvel Studios as a whole. So, according to this article from Bounding Into Comics, Miss Marvel producer calls for people to complain to Kevin Feige to greenlight a second season after series was Marvel's worst performing Disney Plus show. So they get their metrics from Samba TV, which reported 775,000 households tuned in to watch the series in the first 5 days on Disney Plus. Now they're using Samba TV because Disney Plus doesn't actually release their numbers for their streaming services. So this might not necessarily be indicative of what the actual viewership was, but if you do compare it to what other shows were doing using the same metrics that Samba TV uses, then you can see where this compares to the other MCU shows. And right here, you got Loki, which had 2.5 million, Moon Knight 1.8, 1.8 for Falcon Winter Soldier, 1.6 million for WandaVision, which is actually surprising me. I thought that would have been the higher one. And then Hawkeye 1.7 million. So it's about half of what the worst show at the time was Hawkeye. And I think it still holds the record for the last place show, which is followed by Secret Invasion, which has just under 1 million viewers. So obviously this isn't a good sign of what the show actually brought in. And they really don't understand why it did bad, which is actually a huge problem for them. And they're just saying like, oh, they want more of a season. It's like, well, yeah, but if people aren't watching it, Marvel spends around 25 million an episode on these Disney Plus Marvel shows. So you can't just keep putting them out unless people are actually watching them. And they're trying to say like, oh, it was being review bombed and dogpiled. Like, well, yeah, you see these ones on IMDb. It's like, yeah, is there some review bombing? Sure. But look at these review bombing in the positive way. I mean, it doesn't just go one way. I mean, if you were to remove these extremes, which is kind of the way I like to see things, just remove the 10s, remove the 1s and see what is left. And this is the bell curve you see. It's kind of the 6-7 range. So you're just in the middle of the road. Not terrible, but I mean, it's just nothing special. So according to the producer here, I think it comes from a place of anger and a sense that their identities are being threatened. And this is talking about people who criticize the show. If they can't connect with it, then that's okay. I just wish they wouldn't try to put it down. And that's the problem. I don't really think it's people trying to put it down. I mean, go to the trailer for this and it's not like it's hugely ratioed. I mean, the trailer is overall positive, but people just didn't care about this show. And here's the reason why, and this is the lesson that can be learned from the studio as a whole. They've been cultivating a certain audience since the whole inception of the MCU back in 2008. And now they're trying to basically expand out because those people are basically moving on from this. So they're trying to attract a new audience. And this was clearly trying to attract a teenage girl audience, which I think is fine. But the problem is they've built up the whole MCU as in a shared universe that you have to watch everything. And if you're trying to get someone to join right now, you're giving them a huge barrier to entry. I mean, they're trying to say like, well, look at all these other things. I haven't watched all these other things, so I don't want to just start getting into it right now. And then if you're trying to say like, well, no, this is a standalone thing, so you can watch this one and you don't have to know about the other stuff, that's like, well, then that kind of flies in the face of what you've been doing so far. I've been trying to make a shared universe. I mean, you can't on one hand say this is a shared universe where everything's interconnected, so you should watch every show and movie that we put out and go to theaters. And then you also can't say, but these are standalone projects that you can just watch at your own leisure and you don't have to pay attention to everything else. And I think that's the problem right now, is because they're trying to do this in the newest phases. After Endgame, they lost a lot of people because that honestly felt like the end of the MCU. And now they're trying to gain a new audience back, but they set up that huge barrier of entry. I think the only path forward is literally just to kind of, at least if they want to have the same numbers that they had pre-Endgame, is basically just to kind of do like a reboot of the whole MCU, which I doubt that they want to do that. I mean, they kind of want to build off of each other. They don't want to just flip the reset switch and then go back to having Captain America and Iron Man and stuff like that again. I mean, they don't have to do those characters. I mean, do a lot more other characters, but that's ultimately what's going to need to happen if they want to get those numbers that they had. But instead, we're just going to have stuff like this, and they're going to try it out, throw things out there, and it's not going to work. And maybe they should differentiate things where it's obviously clear that these are separate things and you don't need to actually watch it. I mean, just have one-off stuff. I mean, that would probably be better off. And if you want to bring that into other stuff later on, well, then maybe you could. But one thing that is for sure with this, it's not looking good for the Marvels coming up, because Miss Marvel having been the worst viewed show on the Disney Plus platform and having her one of the leads in the new Marvel movie, you need to get people to actually understand who this character is. And I think that's when you're seeing stunts like this. And who knows, maybe if this does really good on ABC during the summer and the Marvels actually defies expectations and it's a popular movie, then this might get a new season. But the way I'm looking at it right now, there's no chance this is going to happen, especially since both Bob Iger and Kevin Feige have said that they're trying to cut back on Marvel stuff and, in essence, focus on quality over quantity. So that means the only things that are actually going to get renewed are things that are guaranteed to be a success, and this isn't one of them. But let me know what you think about this in the comments, and if you like the video, make sure you click the like button, share the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with the latest news. Thank you.